How does one dentist in Washington create a practice that collects over $3 million a year on 3 days a week? You're going to learn that and more with my awesome guest today, who's at his, I love that term, gym office. So my awesome guest, introduce yourself, your name, where you are here on Earth, and how many pull-ups you can do.
0 pull-ups. Start off with, let's just get that out of the way. I use assist bands to get me up.
I like that. Counts. It counts.
Yeah, count. Yeah, assisted pull-ups, as many as I want. I am Michael McKay. I am in beautiful Yakima, Washington, which people go, "Where's that?" And I go, "It's in Central Washington." So if you look at Washington as like a rectangle, I'm dead in the middle on the backside of the Cascade Range. So it's where a lot of people think Washington, they think trees and rain. I'm actually in the desert. My house is surrounded by sagebrush. So
I like it.
yeah, very, very different climate than what you would think of traditional rainy Washington. It's definitely a lot sunnier. We get like 300 days sunshine. It's 4 seasons. So it's kind of the backside of the Cascade. So beautiful place to live. My actual practice is in SELAH, Washington, which is even a smaller town outside. Only thing I can tell you, if you're on the West Coast, you may drink treetop juice. Treetops in SELAH, Washington. So
nice. I like that human interest story. So we're going to do one of those movies where we're going to kind of start now and go backwards, right?
sure.
So the reason I'm interviewing Dr. Michael McKay, if you want to apply to this job, you can text SELAH, SELAH, to 215-798-9897 or visit dentistjobconnect.com. Dr. Michael is an awesome Dentist Job Connect client, also a member of DSI, one of my favorite things, Dental Success Institute, with my BFF, Mark Costas. They are a sponsor of my group. I'm a member of the DSI and DSN, which is amazing. We are connected through an amazing DSI member I'm friends with. So let's talk about where you are now. We're going to go back.
Sure.
Why do you need an associate right now? What is your why?
The why is, honestly, we're just too busy. I got to the point where it sounds great to be a $3 million practitioner, but to do that, you have to basically, when you're at work, you have to work like a crazy person. Yeah. And so, like for me, long-term happiness-wise, it wasn't my path. For joining DSI and some of the other groups, started really thinking about, what's my next 10 or 15 years of my career will look like. I realized practice ownership and mentoring is actually more fun to me, or just as much fun, I'll probably say more, than it is actually doing the actual hands-on dentistry anymore. So I had a point in my practice career, essentially, I said, like, you know what, like I want to change. I want to do something different. I want to grow. I'm not saying I'm the best dentist in the world, but I have kind of felt like I've kind of limited my, like, as far as, I can pretty much do anything in general dentistry, and it gets a little boring. So new challenges. And so dealing with people is actually one of the more challenging things you have to do.
Dealing with dentists is tougher than an all-on-4. And actually, I did a course with my amazing surgical prosthodontist last week, and he broke down the whole procedure. And at the end, I say, what's tougher, doing the all-on-4 or getting people to pay for it? He said, getting people to pay for it's way tougher.
100%.
And 100%. Same thing here. So your why is you want a different way of practice. And then let's talk about the why behind that. So when did you purchase your practice or become a practice?
So classic story of moving to a small town, non-competes, knock you out of town. So it's either go work for a nonprofit, which actually had a job offer at one of the neighborhood health clinics, but I went to another job offer, and I was like, well, what do you want to do long term? I go, well, I want to own my own practice. They go, how would you like to buy this one? I go, let's do it. And so bought a 100% Medicaid office.
Medicaid office. What year was this?
This is 2016.
2016 by Medicaid office. How many ops?
We had like 7 or 8. I mean, half the chairs were like, I kid you not, some of our chairs caught on fire. Wow. They're like, I don't know where they got them from, but like literally I came into the office and there was the smell of
you should be plastic. Like, what do the young kids say? You go, oh, my chairs are fire. What are they? Awesome. Nope, they're on fire.
No, my chairs were on fire. Like I literally could have burnt down the office. So over the years,
7 or 8 ops, 2016. Yeah. What was the practice collecting when you purchased it?
It was about 1.3, 1.2 million. So you can, like when people say you can't make money doing Medicaid, you can't make money doing this.
So 1.3 million, 2016, you're a solo GP. Tell us the years to how you grew it to 3.3 million, working 3 days a week. I'm not going to call them cheat codes, right? I'm not calling cheat codes, but every state's a little different with their rules, right?
Sure.
In my state, if I use an EFTA, I lose my license in New Jersey. My good friend down the street, Todd Fleischman, his EFTAs are doing restorations all day long. So for some 100%. Reason, in New Jersey, it's illegal. In PA, it's cool to use an EFTA. So just walk us through the journey, both money-wise to 3.3 million, morale-wise, and system-wise.
So first off, when I got there was no systems. I kid you not. They'd have patients call and they'd be like, all right, we'll call you back once we verify your insurance and schedule your appointment. Not take the appointment and verify, then cancel. They were doing crazy, I mean, the most crazy stuff you ever heard of your entire life. And so, you know, first thing I took it over, I mean, it wasn't hard to write the ship that much just by like basic things like that. But when one of the things that you're saying, cheat code, I've always worked with restorative hygienists. So in Washington State, they can
Restorative hygienist, hold on. There's people that, what is a restorative hygienist?
Yeah, so restorative hygienists, they can numb in Washington State, they can fill fillings. And obviously they do SRPs and all the other kind of good stuff. So hygienists in Washington State are fairly highly trained. So, you know, my hygienist would go numb the restore patient, numb my crown patient, or numb my surgical patient. I go cut her fillings, then I go or cut my crown. She would do my buildup while I was cutting her fillings, kind of whatever flow worked for that specific hour. But essentially, I don't numb really, and that saves me a bunch of time. And then I don't fill fillings, so that saves me.
Don't numb and no fillings. That's pretty.
Yeah, no numbing and no fillings. Like when I walk in, am I numbing? I'm only re-numbing because they're not numb enough. That's pretty much it. So I don't, you know, if you think about how many hours a day you spend numbing, just getting the patient numb and having to walk in the room, deglove, in glove, get back in.
Love it. I'm going to interject. I want to tell everyone I'm talking with the awesome Dr. Michael McKay, Dentist Job Connect client, DSI member like myself, who's looking for an associate in Washington. You can text SELAH. How do I say that town? SELAH?
SELAH.
SELAH.
You should say like SELAH, like in the Bible, because it means like an easy resting place. Because when you come out of the desert, it's the first river.
Oh, yeah. You're full of human interest stories. I like it. 215-798-9897. You can reach out to us at dentistjobconnect.com to apply for this job and see others. So we're talking with his growth from 1.3 to 3.3 million on 3 days a week. Tell us what year you're at the 3.3 million and what a daily that you said you worked at what you said was a nacho nuts pace, right? A crazy pace. So walk us through before you hired your first associate, how many chairs you running, checking, how you doing this revenue?
Yeah. So, you know, when you talk about number of chairs, like people run things differently. And I always tell people there's a million ways to run a dental practice, and don't let everybody tell you like this is the only way or the only way to be successful. Even DSI, I love DSI. But you'll look at those guys, there are 5 different ways to have $1 million practice or multi-million-dollar practice. The way I did it is I had a 14-out practice. I have a blessing of living in a small town where I can have space. I had room. So I had
14 ops.
Yeah, so I have 14 ops. Before I even hired my associate, I had 10 plumbed ops. 3 of them are for hygiene, 4 of them for hygiene, depending on the given time of year. And for the last few years. And then, so then I'd have about 6 or 7 chairs to work out of. So I do 3 columns of my own. So I have 2 doctor columns where I'm doing crowns, fillings, extractions, limited columns, restorative hygiene column, 3 checks, and then whatever crown or what else I could push in. So my philosophy is you show up and you want to have something done. I generally don't tell you no. I just we just go, oh, well, let's figure it out.
So you're running multiple chairs, you're hygienist. I also want to take a break. I made this shirt. I think you need one because it's biceps, knee, but it's the only things you think about each day. Bigger biceps and better. You're going to take a picture of us, Morgan. But so you're running this practice and you're living what many people would say the dream, earning an awesome income. But you say, I can't do this forever. So you decide to hire your first associate. When did that happen?
Correct. So we hired our first associate about 6 months ago. And it's been fantastic. Because honestly, like when you're running that crazy, you can't give the best customer experience. I mean, I can give great dentistry, like the quality of work was good, but you can't, talk to your patients. You can't guide them a little bit. So, I need to lighten the load also just for an enjoyment factor. When you're running that hard and that crazy, the only way you can make more money is to continue writing harder and crazier. I mean, obviously I do implants, I do molar endo. There's nothing that I don't do. And so you said, hey, cheat code. Cheat code is do everything. There's so many dentists I run into like, do you doing implants? They go, no. And I go, why not? It's easier than doing molar endo. It's gives you way more money and patients love it.
Giant post and core with less risk, I say, because the post and core, if you go offline, the tooth is ruined. You go offline with implants, the bone just heals.
Yeah, it's great. And then also like, you want to make $1,800 in an hour versus $1,800 spread over 3. I mean, and I'm a CERC office. Like I do everything scanned. I'm just telling you, like, a lot of dentists, they don't want to like push their skill sets. They get
I want to interject for a second. First, we have so many people watching here on Zoom. I'm very thrilled. I feel a little bad because when I do Zoom by myself, no one watches in, but I now have double digits here for you. I go, what C did you take after dental school or to learn these skills? Because you couldn't have learned them all in dental school.
Actually, I was blessed to be a part of the RIDE program at the University of Washington. I spent 6 months at a community healthcare clinic. I had this awesome preceptor named Dr. Hino, and he taught me molar endo. I did 6 crowns, molar endo, multiple surgical extractions. I was running a column and a half for 6 months in dental school. Unlike anything you've ever heard of as far as number of patients you'd
Wow.
seen. I walked out of school probably doing 30, 35 root canals, hundreds of fillings, 50, 60, 70 crowns, so many surgical extractions. I can't even.
So how did you hire your first associate and you say it's been going great? Let's talk real for a second. You hire an associate to work with a super GP like you. How do you make it not intimidating? How do you make it so they say, oh, I can't do as many chairs as you, Dr. Michael? Tell us about that. We're here to
You
get
don't need to
you
be,
another
I gotta tell you,
associate.
you don't have to run my style of practice to be successful, right? I mean, like my practice, you can be a bread and butter dentist and be like, I want to just do crowns and fillings and do kind of general dentistry. Like, I didn't want to look at like a molar endo. I go, well, I mean, it's your life. You won't make as much money, but like there's still tons of that work that needs to be done. I mean, I'm not saying that it's not still valuable work. I'm just saying, it's a lot of work that can be done. And if you increase your skill set, I know for me, like I like mentoring. And so it's like, hey, you want to learn how to do these other procedures? You want somebody that you're trying something a little tricky. You want a little bit of a backstop. If somebody can walk in the room and you're having trouble finding that canal, somebody can walk in and help you out and bail you out. I mean, I can do that for you. If you
I want
also,
to call that. I want to say more. I want my team. That's called mentorship in the next op, right? So
yeah,
what happens is it's happening all across the dentisting world. They go, Paul, my job is not good enough. I don't have any mentorship because they don't have another dentist on site. So one
yeah,
of the most important questions you can ask when applying to a job of any kind, but especially new, is how often will I be the only dentist in this practice? Because if you hear you're the only dentist every day, you cannot go next door and have Dr. Michael say, will you help your associates with scanning, implants, difficult patients, all the above?
it's tough. I mean, I remember I was a solo guy. I can't even tell you how many times I wish there was somebody to call. I mean, I bought my own
Yeah.
practice. I worked by myself on an island, and I can't tell you how nice it would have been to have somebody come be able to bail me out during that time. We're like, hey, this surgical extraction is going wrong. This this
Sometimes
endo.
you just need a new perspective, a different
Yeah.
set of hands. Now, a couple questions I want to get to here, and we're talking with Dr. Michael McKay. He's looking for an associate dentist to join him, and your practice is now doing over 4 million a year, right?
We're on track to do
On
4
track to
million.
do.
Yeah.
So you're growing in both revenue and patient volume, and
Correct.
you're telling this audience you want to do less chairside time.
Hundred percent.
You want to be freed up. It's not like you're going to consume all the dentistry and throw the scraps of class threes to patients to your associates.
I'm totally happy. I do arch cases, but if you can do an arch case and you're my associate, I'll go for it. This is like more power to you. I mean, to be selfish, guys, like the more money you make, the more money I make. I mean, let's be real here. Like,
It's called a
the more skill
win-win.
sets you have, it's win-win. I mean, like my always theory on being a boss, whether they're a hygienist, assistant, is I want to give you the most skill sets you can and let you run to the limit of your license. And so that way you have a fun job. That's why our citizens love working for us, because we let them do everything that they are legally allowed to do. We'll let the hygienists do everything they're legally allowed to do. I'm about pushing the boundaries as far as like dentistry, like what a GP can do. And I'm one of those people that go like, I mean, like what, ortho, Sure Smile, Invisalign, that stuff's so easy. I mean, the computer does 90% of the work for you anyways. I mean, why are you scared? Implants, guided implants. Why are you scared?
So you're here saying you'll mentor your associate if they want to add skills outside of what I call fundamental chips.
100%.
Nobody eats bread and butter anymore, Michael. It's a special treat. I don't only call it bread and butter. It's kale and quinoa dentistry, or fundamental chips is what I call
Hey,
it.
I'm out here in Yakima. We still eat bread and butter, man. Like,
So now
maybe you East Coasters eat quinoa, but
when you come, I'll serve you quinoa nachos. The next thing I want to get to, which I think will be valuable for this audience, and I'm always here to deliver value and share your position on dentistjobconnect.com. My team will share this in the comments here. If you're watching this recording, just text job to 215-798-9897. So you are at the top of the top in terms of revenue. It's not a money contest, but you're a solo G with top. Why'd you join the DSI? Why'd you need help? Why you don't need help? I mean, it's not like Michael, before you think, as it, your DSI member connected you to me on a Sunday, right? So then and there, that's it. But why does Michael need help? Aren't you a star, a superstar? Why join the DSI?
I mean, I joined DSI partly, like the big reason was like, I wanted to find some friends that were like me. I mean, to be perfectly honest. And I know our mutual friend, Andrew Vallo, I know you talked.
Awesome.
awesome guy. I mean, I met him, a few months ago and just clicked. It's one of those people we have similar philosophy on life, similar kind of desire to do stuff. He's way more of a gunner than I ever want to be, but it's hard when you're a solo dentist running a weird niche business and you feel so alone sometimes. Like, and you talk to some other dentists that don't want to, oh, you want to make money? I don't, you know how it goes. Just like, you just don't sometimes find like you found your people. And I was talking to Dr. Costas about this, Mark, when I was joining. He's like, yeah, when I started this group, I felt like I found my friends, and it's been really fun meeting people that you're like, hey, let's talk about the same issues, the same problems. And it's at the point where it's like, yeah, I mean, if you're starting out, you're going to get a lot more help. But I was like going back to that analogy, like Tom Brady wasn't twice as good as the other quarterbacks. He was 10% better, 15% better. Look at his statistics. He was at 68% versus like 58%.
I know. One thing I'll share is, Mark is such a close friend of mine, someone I admire, just did his podcast recently. And I said something on that podcast that he wrote down, and my team member can share that podcast in the chat. I said, dentistry is a very lonely profession, even though you're surrounded by people. So you're surrounded by people all day, patients and teams, but it can be so lonely as a practice owner. So find your community. And I appreciate you sharing that. DSN is a sponsor of our group. And what they do is so magical. It's not necessarily about increasing your EBITDA, even though they'll help you do that.
It will, yeah.
Finding friends who have your back to talk about the things that are not always comfortable to talk about with your spouse, right?
Yeah.
Your spouse isn't a dentist. They don't want to hear about all this all the time. I feel bad for them.
My wife's actually a hygienist, and she still doesn't care. I mean, I always say, like, it's the whole group mentality as far as like, you never need coach, never need advice. I mean, that's like, look at like famous athletes. They all have coaches, all advice. I had a great coach even before DSI. He's the one that's like, hey, I do $2 million a year working 3 days a week. Why can't you? And I go, why can't I? And so like, it's
the thing about, there's something about the DSI, what culture I think is so great, very different than dental school culture, which is like the Hunger Games, is the gym culture. And you have the gym behind you. You can go to the gym and there can be a power lifter who can bench press 400 pounds, who will be literally cheering on a 60-year-old woman benching 80 pounds. And I think that Mark has mastered that inside of it, where it's just about cheering on, not about criticizing. And somehow, even when these people, you do your mastermind hot seats and you hear someone say, one of the guys from my mastermind hot seat, he like does as much as you, he doesn't take lunch, but he makes a lot of money. No one says he's bragging because he's asking for help on his terms. And then there's another dentist who's done $1 million trying to get to 2 million. So I'm so glad you shared that, because I think there's a pervasive problem in dentists thinking they don't need help outside of the operatory. They don't need help. And you're a perfect example of that.
The thing about it too is, now, like, when I was an associate, I made mistakes. Like, not mistakes in the sense of like, I wasn't good time to hire associate, is that I didn't realize, I always forget people aren't me. Like, most people don't run all these crazy columns. So, I made mistakes, and then I had some with Jason Tunray, and I had a great conversation with him about like how to onboard an associate and make sure that, I'm successful at the same time while they're being successful. And I was going through the same struggles a lot of people are starting a new practice, because basically, what's an associate? It's a little practice inside of your practice, right? It's kind of kickstarted a new little piece of the puzzle, and it was fun and nice to be able to get on a group chat with somebody and be like, hey.
No, he's great. I went to dental school with him. So now, as we start to wrap up in the next 10 minutes, your position, you're adding another associate. Are you looking for full-time or part-time?
Full-time would be ideal. We're looking for somebody. I mean, I'd love to have somebody who wants to be a super GP. Also who and ideally would be somebody who wants to stick around in this area, or at least give it a chance. Cause it's a fantastic place to be a dentist. A lot of time when people say like, hey, I want to, work, I want the ideal dental environment. I want 1 to 5,000 patient ratio. I want to live in a town where, I can go skiing in a second. I want to do X, Y, and Z. I mean, that's what this town is. I mean, our little zip code, there's 4 dentists and there's like 16,000 people in this one zip code. If you look at the whole city, it's like 1 to 5,000, 1 to 6,000. I mean, there is tons of patients for it.
So you have somebody, if they have it's not a requirement, but if they have desire to be a super GP, you want to help them. Walk me through their day. If you find someone through Dentist Job Connect and they start working with you 4 days a week, are they going to be doing fundamental restorative procedures and the ability to do some other stuff? I know you might have mentioned it, but just kind of reinforce what procedures you're going to having them do.
They can do whatever they're capable or want to do. I don't put limits on. I would never put limits on anybody who's like, I can do implants. No, all implants are mine. like I said, if you feel comfortable doing, a lot of people walk out of school comfortable with implants. Great,
Yeah.
do them. That's great. We use BioHorizon. We use Vulcan Lab. We have Sarah Crowns. I mean, we're ready to run. Like whatever you want to do. I mean, we have the ability to do every procedure because we already do arch cases. We already do All-in-X. We already do, implants. We do Sarah Crowns. We do bread and butter dentistry. We do molar endo. You want to go be the Invisalign champion? We use Sure Smiles. I like it better, but like you want to do ortho and that's your thing. Great. I mean, I've always been more like, what resources can I give you to succeed? Not you have to stay in your lane. Now you only have, you might not have I might not be able to give you like 3 assistants and 5 chairs right away. I mean, it takes time to build a little practice even within your own practice, but I can give you all the resources that I have of a multi-million-dollar practice that you probably as a new doctor, you might be able to get into.
And one of the things I share with people, and my dream was to play professional basketball. That failed, Michael. But when you're on a team where great stuff is being done, you learn things through osmosis, and it's a great environment to be in. You may not place immediate load implant cases for a full arch yet, but the fact that it's being done in the next operatory, magic happens. My practice has a surgical prosthodontist, a periodontist. We have associates, and even though my associates are not doing soft tissue grafts, even them just being done there is valuable. So you've shared with us that. Now tell me this. A dentist started a DM this way with me, Michael, and said, "Hey, Paul, you're right." I said, "Tell me more. I like this DM already."
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I did what you said. I said, "What was that?" He goes, "I created a contract for my associate that I would be happy to sign." And what I found out was they signed it right away. I said, "See, when you create plans for people that you would do yourself, it works out." And this could be I know we talked, you were in sales, and we talked about the sales team with Daniel Pink. Whenever I give a treatment plan to a patient, it's something I would be happy to have done on myself if
100%.
I was in their shoes. Tell us about the compensation. How will they be compensated working with? They're going to work full time. They're going to do fundamental dentistry plus the ability to learn super GP stuff. Now tell us about the compensation.
Yeah, so currently, I offer a sign-on bonus. I know for a lot of people moving out here might require kind of a shift in area, unless you haven't become a Yakima, fantastic. But if you're not and you're looking to come, so usually we do a sign-on bonus. For my last associate, it was a $20,000 sign-on bonus.
That's awesome. $20,000,
which isn't bad. 30% of adjusted production. I don't do collections because that's my job, is to collect the money for you, not the vice way around. We do slightly less tiered for the hygienist because the hygienists are paid so much. We have to on the fillings, but the main goal is for you to be sitting there doing that. So our current associate is on track to actually do, probably close to $280,000 in take home income in his first year. That's not including his sign-on bonus, just what he's
and that's
done.
also, you know what it is it's a very reasonable way to earn, these dentists, and some of them, I wouldn't have known this as a new dentist, like, hey, you collect $900,000 a year, you get 30% of that, it's going to be in that $300,000 range. It's very normal to be able to do that because 200 days a year, it's only $5,000 a day, $4,500 a day. And it sounds like you have the patient base to support that.
We have lots of patients. That's the patient's not the problem. That's why I keep telling people, this is a great place to practice. You can hang a nail and be $1 million dentist in Yakima. So, I mean, if you're not a super GP, my associate isn't doing implants. He already knew how to do bone grafting. That's it. He doesn't do implants. He's very bread and butter. Been sticking to easy molar endo, nothing crazy. Yes. I take the harder cases. So, I mean, this is bread and butter dentistry, and that's what he's producing. I'm saying he's not doing crazy procedures, or he's not an implant specialist. He's literally doing the most basic stuff most dentists could walk out of dental school and doing. Now he's really good at it, and he has a good skill set. He did GPR, so he does have a little bit of an advanced skill set for being a newer dentist. But he is doing very streamlined, normal stuff, and he's just 6 months in. As he continues to grow his patient base, I have no doubt that probably
one thing that's cool is that this doesn't always happen. And he was your first associate, but I know as someone who works with multiple dentists, there's going to be something cool about your next associate being able to connect with your associate of 6 months in a shared experience way, right? That's different than you as the owner.
I'm actually super pumped to have other dentists in the office. I mean, just other people that I can go and talk to, talk about, stupid, wonky dental stuff with that nobody else cares about. I mean, really, nobody else cares about MB2 canals. I mean, I don't even care about MB2 canals, but and who, it's nice to have those people in your office and have that kind of group environment of somebody else you can chat to. You can show like that crazy implant you saw placed it from a different office, and you like, instead of texting your buddy, you're like, do you see this thing? Like,
Yeah, and you could also just talk
that's a
about the
millimeter
wild.
wide implant with a 6 millimeter crown. Like, what's going on?
There was a young dental student today who I was DMing with. He goes, Paul, I posted something on your group, and some of these dentists, they're so combative and they get annoyed easily. I go, wait till you work with patients, right? Like,
Seriously.
dentists on the internet who argue with you over your treatment plan, wait till you do it. And sometimes and not sometimes, all the time, it's nice to have that there. Well, I am thrilled you're on Dentist Job Connect. As we wrap up, any parting words, your job, people can text SELAH to 215-798-9897. You can go to dentistjobconnect.com to apply for this position. But I'll give you the last 60 seconds to inspire someone out there in the dental nachos world to connect with you.
Sure. I mean, basic sales pitch for this office, you want to kind of can it down, is that I'm going to let you run, and I'm going to give you the resources that you'll need as you continue to grow into the practice. Also, as far as like the community, I already explained a little bit, it's fantastic. It's a great place to live, great place if you have kids and a family, great school system. It is also, if you like to do outdoor stuff, I mean, I was up skiing 45 minutes away from the hill, great little ski hill. It's not even little, it's a good sized ski hill. If you like to do outside stuff, it's a great outside family environment. We have fantastic weather, sunshine, like about 300 days of the year. It's a nice little secret in Washington. We don't have to spend $3 million to buy a house. You can really have a great experience. Also, like I said, you can do whatever you want here in dentistry. There's no implant specialists in town. So you want to run and do a bunch of implants, guess what? You're not competing against a prosthodontist of 80 years. You're competing against me. Like, it's I'm already there. I'm like one of the leading implant placements in the city. And there's like maybe 3 of us that do this. And so you can be whatever you want in this town as far as a dentist, and you can develop whatever skill sets you want. And you can have the life, like I said, you can get down to working 3 days a week, making great money, and work less than you don't. I mean,
I love it. Well, you've inspired everyone watching. I hope everyone watching here, dentistry can be awesome. It can be annoying. It can be exhausting. And I appreciate you sharing your story here with us, Dr. Michael. Reach out to dentistjobconnect.com to apply. And thanks so much for sharing with us.
hey, Paul, appreciate it. It's been fun getting to know you.